Welcome back to the Triple Doink podcast, everybody. All our millions of loyal followers who have waited through this 2 week period of no
This
podcasts.
desolate wasteland of no triple doinks.
Yeah, it's taken a long time to get here because of like family reunions and getting called into work and cars breaking down
And yeah,
yeah, but I'm finally back with the data to my LaForge, my friend Bryce.
what is that reference?
That's Star Trek Next Generation.
That would be why I don't get it. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was debating whether or not to like the data to my LaForge rolls off the tongue better than the LaForge to my data, but I kind of identify more with data, so it was hard to decide on that one. I mean,
Data to my
I'd rather be the totally emotionless android than the blind dude.
the blind dude. So
Mm-hmm.
you're telling me that I'm blind? You're
No.
really exemplifying that my sight is going that far.
Well, to be fair, you did tell me that this week's thumbnail was going to be really great. Uh, so
I did.
there's that. No, that was a joke. You were supposed to go with it. Never mind.
Hey, there's gullible written on the ceiling. Me. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you got me. Me.
Um. Anyway, so hey, I just got an email from myself. Sweet.
Yeah, about the open.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Anyway. Um. So yeah, I there's not a lot of NFL stuff to talk about.
The problem with off-season football is that there
Right.
isn't football.
This is kind of the dead period these next few weeks.
It's just when people are training, and the only thing
So
that you're going to hear are basically, oh, this guy got hurt. Oops.
yeah. So the only other things we tend to talk a lot about the NBA in this like section of the podcast, and kind of too much has happened in the NBA to like talk about it all.
Well, the Raptors won.
The Raptors won the finals. Yes.
I guess we could talk about that.
No, we don't have to.
We don't have to.
The
It's been a while.
the Anthony Davis trade was pretty crazy. He got traded to the Lakers for Lonzo Ball and a bunch of other young players and future picks and things. And then, of course, the Pelicans drafted Zion Williamson as well. So that's going to be interesting. They could be a really dominant team in like 2 years. But I don't really want to get into that sort of stuff. Of course, the NBA draft happened.
And my sons decided to go for a 27-year-old as their first pick.
The Brandon Whedon of basketball players.
The draft bust of basketball players.
Well, wasn't Brandon Whedon like almost 30 when the Browns drafted him? I can't remember now.
Yeah, he was like 29.
Yeah, let me look it up quick. But the only thing I really wanted to talk about
NBA MVP.
Well, okay, not just the MVP though. Of course, Giannis got the MVP, and of course he's extremely deserving of that.
And that solidifies that Wisconsin now has had MVPs in the last 5 years of each of their major sports.
Right. By the way, Brandon Whedon was 28 when the Browns drafted him.
I was 1 year off.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, Giannis won MVP, and obviously I'm happy about that. I'm glad that they didn't give it to Harden just because Harden's older and less likely to win one in the future. But setting that aside, I'm even more happy that Mike Budenholzer won Coach of the Year and John Horst won Executive of the Year, which they both absolutely deserved. Um, and that, I mean,
Can you specify which teams they are a part of?
they are both part of the Bucks.
I see.
And of course, Budenholzer deserves it. I mean, he took basically an average Milwaukee team and made them the best team in the NBA. Um, and Horst deserves it as well for, you know, I mean, helping to hire Budenholzer and also all the roster improvements that he made in the offseason and then during the season and even going back to last year with acquiring Eric Bledsoe. I'm so happy
Yeah.
for all three of those guys, for Giannis, Bud,
Giannis'
and
story is really
Horst.
the emotional like getter, I guess. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
the one that can really pull on your heartstrings.
obviously, I'm thrilled about Giannis. And honestly, if what's exciting is that you go, okay, well, the um, the whole like three consecutive MVPs, that's not going to happen because there's another MLB season that's going to wrap up between now and when Aaron Rodgers could win one. Um, but Christian Yelich may be on pace to go back to back. He's having a really great year.
Yeah,
Um,
there's that one.
so it could happen.
I think it depends on how well the Brewers actually do because he's an MVP. I don't watch baseball, but from what I
Right.
know, it sounds like he's in MVP form. But also, though, how I know how things are drafted, right,
Mm-hmm.
and how like things are voted on, you have to be on a winning team.
That's true.
You have to be on one
Um,
of the best teams, and then if you're the best player on one of the best teams, you get considered.
yeah, and pretty much like in terms of his hitting numbers, there's only one other player in the National League right now that's like close to him, and that's Cody Bellinger of the Dodgers. And of course, if the season ended now, I think it would go to Bellinger because the Dodgers have, I think, the best record in the National League. Um, but it's still early. Like at this time last year, it's not even the All Star break yet, and at this time last year, Yelich wasn't even in the MVP conversation. He was not. He didn't even make the All Star team. He won the MVP on the strength of his August and September run. So you never know what's going to happen the rest of the year. But I mean, it would be great if Yelich could win it again. You know. Um,
Yeah, I just can't really
but
comment on it because I'm like, yeah, baseball, haha, hit them bats.
right. No, Bryce, you hit the ball with the bat.
Oh,
Yeah, the pitcher is trying to avoid hitting the bat with the ball. So,
I see.
okay. Okay. I guess we just won't talk about baseball anymore on this podcast. Um so yeah, good for Giannis, good for Bud, good for Horst. I'm really happy for all of them. Um and now let's go win a title next year. Um and then we'll have everything.
You'll have everything. The world
Except
under your
for
shoulders.
we'll have everything except for back-to-back titles, which we can get the next year. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I really wanted to say about that. Do you have any stuff you want to say before we get into football?
No, not really. There's nothing really going on
Okay.
with my life. I mean, I've been working, and that's about it.
Yeah. It's that time of the off season, right?
Oh
Just
yeah.
like nothing
Everyone's not.
happening.
It's just those time of years where it's like,
Been doing a lot of chess recently.
I see.
Getting ready for a tournament that's coming up. So, yeah, that's great. Anyway, all right. So I guess we can get into football news. So, oh, by the way, last thing I wanted to say is your move, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Yelich and Giannis, you haven't won an MVP in a while, Aaron. It's your turn.
Oh yeah.
Your move.
I Your
Um,
move, Mr. Rogers.
yeah. Anyway, so the first thing, we have some sad news to report. The and it's not the sad news that listeners might be thinking of. Um, the sad news is that um, the Chicago Bears, they had a kicking competition, right, in practice, and they did the thing that coaches often do, where Nagy said, if he makes this kick, we'll end practice early. And they lined up all three of their kickers that they had at the time, Chris Blewett, Eddie Pinheiro, and Elliot Fry, and they all attempted a kick from 42 yards out. And if you recall, the double doink that ended the Bears season last year was from 43. So this kick is 1 yard closer than that kick was. And all three kickers attempted this 42-yard kick, and all three missed.
Wait.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where it's like, if any one of them had made the kick, they would have ended practice early, but then all three missed. And then the next day, the Bears cut Chris Blewett. And that's where we are now. It's a dark time for the Triple Doink podcast.
The timeline is ruined.
Yep. But that's okay, because they still don't have anybody who can kick a football. My guess is they're probably going to end up bringing back Robbie Gould, because he's still under contract with the 49ers, but he just doesn't want to report to the team or whatever. So he's probably going to become available, and he'll just go back to Chicago. But anyway,
it's a good theory to have.
Yeah, I just feel like it's going to happen. But we'll obviously talk more about that when anything happens. The other sad news to talk about, of course, is that Pat Bowlen, the Broncos owner, has passed away. I don't know enough about Pat Bowlen, I guess, to really talk about his impact, but obviously an influential guy, owned the Broncos for a long time. The last few years, of course, he was away from the team because he was suffering from Alzheimer's, so he wasn't really involved with the team since before their last Super Bowl run, really. But anyway,
yeah,
that's that. The Broncos apparently are going to wear a helmet decal this season to honor him, which is cool. And also, I didn't mention this a few podcasts ago, but the Packers are going to be wearing a Bart Starr helmet decal as well this season.
Neat.
So, good for them.
Not the people who died, but, yeah.
Right, yeah. So, that's that. I mean, do you have anything to say about any of the sad stuff?
Blewett will always be in my heart.
Yeah.
Of what could have been.
He might catch on somewhere with some team.
But it won't be the Bears.
It won't be the Bears.
It won't be a Doink. It won't be. Yeah. We never know. Maybe he'll be signed mid-season.
Yeah. I mean, if he ever signs anywhere, we'll be very happy. I agree. But it won't be the same. So, okay. Anyway, moving on from deaths and cuts. So the whole situation with the Patriots and Texans, did you follow any of that stuff?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
So ultimately, it seems like nothing actually happened, which is typical of this part of the offseason, I guess. But as we previously talked about, the Texans cut their GM, Brian Gain, which was a surprising move. And apparently, like less than a week after that, they were attempting to interview, I believe his name is Nick Cesario, the Patriots director of player personnel, to fill the GM spot. And the Patriots did not like that at all and filed tampering charges against the Texans. And there was just a lot of drama about like, oh, Cesario doesn't want to remain with the Patriots, blah blah blah. And then it turned out no, he actually does want to remain with the Patriots and is not interested in the Texans job. And when that came out, the Patriots just dropped their tampering charges and nothing happened. So yeah, nothing happened. That's basically the story. Nothing happened.
It's just so
it's just an annoying story.
Needless drama.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, we don't have to. That's the greatest point.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is our podcast. We choose what we talk about. By which I mean I choose because I do all the news research. So let's move on to something. Let's move on to something that I'm sure you care about, which is Jalen Ramsey. So apparently the Jaguars are not going to extend him this season. He still has 2 years left on his rookie deal. And so they don't have to extend him, of course. But he released a statement saying, yes, he's disappointed that they're not going to offer him the extension yet. And he is going to ask for an ungodly amount, in his own words, next season, next offseason when they try to extend him. So what are your thoughts on this? This is your team.
I think it's smart not giving. I mean, isn't he only like 3 years into the NFL?
I think so. He's under contract still for this year and next year.
Yeah, so he has 5 years on his rookie contract. That would make 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, at the end of the day, he's a 3-year proven player.
Mm-hmm.
And rookie contracts are cheap. And if you can get a few years without that, I think you should take as much as you can and try to win now. It's basically a win now move. I think next year is where they're really going to go all in. That's what it's seeming to look up. And this year is a year where I think that they'll see where they are and where they improve, because everything's just the water's been moving. A lot of changes, especially to the most important position on the field. And when Nick Foles inevitably fails, I mean, hopefully Gardner Minshew. Like I'm just rooting for Minshew at this point. Like that like you don't understand. I've already made Madden characters called Gardner Minshew, and I've already played through their franchise because I'm hyped for the possibility of him being my starting quarterback. He's such a wholesome guy, dude. And he's so good at reading the field.
I find it funny that you're just resigned to the fact that Nick Foles will inevitably fail.
It's inevitable. He's a quarterback that throws 50-50 balls, and he's basically like, I trust my team. I trust God and I trust my team. That's his mentality. That's always been his MO. That's always been how he's played the game. And when you have receivers that can catch, I agree. But I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver core is necessarily known for their hands. Being necessarily great or jump balls, Yeah. It's funny because if Allen Robinson was on the team, it'd be fantastic.
Whole different story if he was still around. But do you think there's a chance, and I feel like it's very unlikely, but do you think there's a chance that the Jaguars will not re-sign Jalen Ramsey next offseason?
Oh, no, that's not even in the realm of possibility, unless if the guy tanks.
Yeah. I mean, unless he has a terrible season this year, I don't see it happening. And if he has like a good or even an average season, I feel like he would hold out for the contract next offseason anyway. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, I guess maybe maybe the argument for signing him now would be that he would be willing to give them more of a discount. Whereas if they wait till next year, he's going to want to be the highest paid corner in the NFL. I don't know. But whatever. I mean, I do think it's probably the right move because if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't have a very good season last year, did he?
He was really impactful on the field. It's just the team wasn't good around him. He didn't have really anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that. I guess we'll see what happens when Nick Foles needs to be replaced. So moving on, the Raiders are going to be the Hard Knocks team this year. That was announced. Have you ever watched Hard Knocks?
Hard Knocks?
Yeah.
I've never actually watched it, but I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay. I've never watched it either.
Thought it was the Browns.
No, it's the Raiders.
Oh, yes, it is. You're right.
So, yeah, I've never watched it. The only thing I know about the show from like past years is from the recaps that Dan Hansis always does on ATN. So I'm pretty indifferent to this. I actually might watch it this time just because I'm actually doing a podcast about football now. But I don't know. I haven't decided. Anyway, that's that. It will be at least interesting because the Raiders seem like one of the most likely to blow up situations in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. They seem like one of the most likely teams to just completely fall apart this season. I mean, things could go extremely well. Also, they certainly have talent on that team, so it'll be interesting to see at least.
They're in that boat of they're an enigma. They're an enigma likely to fail. Hello? There you are. Hello, Ryan. Ryan, hello. Ryan. Speaking. Hello. I'm speaking. I will play this video then. As you
No, hang on. Are you hearing me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. What was that?
I have no idea what that was. It was a
Okay.
video that came on my timeline, and I was really confused as to what it was. I clicked on it, and I kind of regretted it the second I clicked on it.
Okay. So, what all did you hear me say about the Raiders?
I think I heard everything.
Okay. Perfect. We'll just move on. I don't really have any thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next item is the Saints have given a contract extension to Cam Jordan, which seems like a good move. I can't remember exactly what his contract situation was, but he's obviously an important player on that defensive line. He's one of their best players on that side of the ball. They needed to do this, and they got it done. So great. Any thoughts on that, or should we move on?
Yay, Saints.
Okay. The Minnesota Vikings did finally extend Kyle Rudolph. I've been waiting for this. I actually was kind of expecting them not to, and I thought he might get traded. There were some talks of trying to trade him, but apparently they extended him, so he's going to be a Viking for the foreseeable future. So that's great. Um, yeah, I have
Yeah.
no further thoughts on that.
No further thoughts on
No.
the greatest tight end the Vikings have had in the last year.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Let me see if I can find it quick. I have a picture that you could maybe put on the screen, but I have to find it.
Fair enough.
Um, no, that's not it. Dang it. No, that's not it either. Ah, maybe I don't have it. That would be really disappointing, but I think I don't have it.
It sounds disheartening.
Oh well. Never mind. So, you know my friend Kyle who is in our fantasy league?
Yes.
Um Years ago I made him a logo for his team that was Kyle Rudolph and it said, "Hey, look, it's Kyle," because that's his team name. Um but then that season his team ended up being really bad. And so like halfway through the season I made him a new logo that instead of Kyle Rudolph was Kyle Orton. Um and it was a great picture of Kyle Orton, by the way. It was like him uh like watching from the sideline with the headset because he's the backup. Um and then when the Packers drafted offensive lineman Kyle Murphy, I made a Kyle Murphy one. But anyway, and that I think that's the one that Kyle is still using for his team. Um,
Hey,
but
look, it's
anyway,
Kyle.
moving on. The Jets are apparently going to be bringing back Belial Powell, the running back.
Yeah, I know him. He was on my fantasy team in the beginning of the year, and then I traded him for Saquon.
Yep. Because we play
He,
fantasy with idiots. Um, so anyway, they're bringing back Belial Powell, which is interesting. They weren't expected to because of the Le'Veon Bell signing. They were going to probably let Powell go, but he's actually a very good backup. So I think it's a good move for them to bring him
Yeah, that's
back.
def, and I think that he's great if he's not full time. And the second that you like put him in like for more than like 15, like 10, 15 snaps, then yeah, he's gonna look terrible.
Yeah. Um,
He's a good 6, 7 carries a game guy.
yeah. I mean, good guy to give Bell a break, and I feel like they want to manage his workload a lot because, um, they want to save him for the stretch run, Bell. That is.
Yeah.
Um, So it makes sense to have as much depth and as many capable running backs as possible in that offense. So I like the move for the Jets. Um, so yeah. Um, any other thoughts on that, or should we move to the next item?
That's your thoughts are mine.
Okay,
There.
great. Um, I do have more to say about Le'Veon Bell later. Actually, two more things to say about Le'Veon Bell later. One of which is still in the news, and one of which is a prediction. Um, at least I think. Let me scroll down. Do do do. Yes. Okay. So the next news item, we'll get back to Bell. The next news item is Josh McCown has announced that he is retiring from the NFL. Um, and apparently he's going to be joining ESPN as an analyst. Um,
Huh.
so the first part of that is not surprising that he's retiring. It's time for Josh McCown, and he actually has had a really interesting career. He's one of those players that's like he was always like when he was playing, he was always with a really bad team, but he was really fun to watch. Um, and even when he was like starting for the Browns or the Jets and they were just getting killed, he was so much fun to watch. Um,
He had a spark in him.
yeah, The second part, though, that he's becoming an analyst for ESPN is surprising to me.
Why is that? That seems exactly what ESPN would do.
Well, it seems fine for ESPN, but not for Josh McCown, because I've always thought, and people have speculated, that he was going to be a coach in his future. Like he seems like he would make a really good coach. Like they always coaches talked about him as being like, eh, you know, a great mentor for young quarterbacks, and I felt like he would
You thought he'd be a
immediately.
QB coach?
I felt like he would immediately jump to QB coach and then, see how far he could rise, maybe offensive coordinator and even head coach someday. But I felt like he would immediately go into coaching, but I guess he's going to ESPN, and maybe he'll still pursue coaching in the future, but not right now. So I guess that's that. But on balance, good career for Josh McCown. I I've always liked watching him. So anyway, um, should we move on,
Yeah,
or
let's
do you
move
have?
on.
Okay, no
It,
more McCown talk.
it's just Josh
Um,
McCown. Like,
yeah. Okay. Here's maybe my favorite news item this week is that Patriots linebacker Kyle Van Noy has been shot in the face.
oh wait, what?
Yeah, he was shot in the face
By what?
with with a paintball gun.
With a paintball gun. There it is.
Yeah.
You clearly.
But you see, that's not even the twist in the story. Would you like to guess who shot him with a paintball gun?
So he's a Patriots linebacker.
Yes.
Bill Belichick.
Yes, it was Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick apparently decided that for their last day of practice, they would do something, a fun team building activity, and they went and played paintball. And sure, fine, whatever. But apparently, Kyle Van Noy got shot in the face, and uh, I think it chipped a tooth or something. And then it was later revealed that yes, it was in fact Bill Belichick that shot him. And I feel like that's just, to me, for some reason, that's hilarious.
Just imagining
Um,
that old, like, always dissatisfied man shooting his player
yes, I
square in
feel
his mouth.
like, of course, I don't believe there's a video out there of it. If there were, I think I would absolutely have watched it by now. Um, but I just imagine that there is an evil laugh involved after Belichick shoots his own player with a paintball gun. Like I feel like he laughed maniacally. There's just no way it didn't happen that way.
Or at least not in your mind.
Um, the way. Yeah. We're actually at the end of the news document, with the exception of one more thing.
One
So,
more.
um, do you have any last thoughts on anything before we get to a jewelry news update?
Oh my god, a jewelry news.
Yeah. So, last time on the Triple Doink podcast, we talked about two jewelry related news items. Um, the first one was that Drew Brees was suing this jeweler over ripping him off essentially.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
the update to that case is that Brees has now been awarded $6 million in that lawsuit. So essentially, he won, and he got back the money that was, stolen from him. Essentially,
Yeah, good for that millionaire.
yeah. So great, nice job, Drew. Um, The more interesting item is, of course, an update to the Le'Veon Bell situation. Now, if you remember, he
Oh
had
yeah.
over $500,000 stolen from his home by his two girlfriends. And so TMZ obtained the 911 call that Bell made after he found his jewelry missing. And I'm just going to read off the transcript of what Bell said. And I have heard the call also, and it's funny, but he was asked anyway, I'm just going to read it. So he says, "Well, I had two girls in my house, and I got up and I did my normal routine to go work out. So I left for a couple hours. When I came back, they took my money, they took my watch, my jewelry, a couple more things of value out of my house. I don't know where they're at. I tried to call them before I called you guys. I tried to call them, and they're not answering me. They're ignoring me." So already pretty great, right?
Oh my.
But like,
Ignoring?
okay, so but this honestly is kind of what you would expect so far, right?
Yes.
From this situation. So then the 911 operator asks Bell to describe the women, and he gives kind of a physical description, but then he's asked what they were last seen wearing. And this is what Bell said. About the first woman, he said, "When I left, she was in the bed, not wearing clothes, so I didn't see her when she left the house." Okay. And then he's asked about the other woman, and he goes, "The same way. She was in the bed too. They didn't have clothes on." So
So we can confirm that he is indeed. Wow.
yeah. So yeah, that's that, I guess. And
Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Good for Le'Veon. I mean, bad, but good for him. You know?
I kind of feel like this is just what you get for being in that situation.
Yeah. I would not disagree.
Yeah. But anyway, I felt that was worth bringing to light. Any further updates on this, of course, we will bring to you whenever we get around to recording a podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, okay, that's all I have for news. Was there anything else you thought we should talk about before we get to our predictions for next time?
When I said, right, that I had heard no news from the NFL, I wasn't lying. Like, I literally had never heard of any of these topics.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. My feed has been like devoid of any football talk, and I am none the wiser.
I forgot to mention this. I only know this from listening to ATN, but they had the NFL Media Talent Summit recently, and apparently Al Riveron, the head of officiating, did his speech that he always does at that, and he was talking about the new OPI and DPI review process, which is going into effect. And I don't honestly have a take. I'm curious to see how it's going to be officiated. But I feel like it has the potential to go terribly wrong.
Where you can review pass interference calls?
Yeah. If you want to know more about this, like, just listen to ATN because they discuss it in detail, and I don't really want to rehash that here. But Chris Wessling makes a lot of good points about this rule change, and it could go really badly if they don't handle it correctly. And I think this, so if you remember last season with the whole roughing the passer thing early in the year, where they kind of made that adjustment after Clay Matthews got flagged on a couple of ridiculous calls, and then after that they made an adjustment to how they were officiating that call. I feel like this might end up being a similar situation where they, partway into the season, they're going to have to change how they're doing this because it just
It just is
seems like
it's infiltrating on the game too much.
Right, exactly. It seems like coaches are going to try to abuse this too much. But anyway, we'll just see what happens with it. And maybe even by the end of the preseason, they'll have a better idea of how this is being officiated and how to go forward. So we'll just wait and see on that. But moving on to bold predictions. So how many do you have this week?
2.
2. Okay.
How many do you have?
I have 3, but I could combine 2 of mine into one prediction if needed. So we can keep them even. By the way, why do you always do 2?
Why do I always do 2? Because it's really hard to come up with like 2, 3 good ones. So I'm just like, all right. Because I'm thinking, right, and I don't even think mine are pretty weak, I feel.
Okay. Well, my last one is longer. Because it's going to. I did a lot of research on my last one, so I think I should do that one last. So that means I guess I should go first. I guess.
Sure.
Unless I do 2 in a row. You know what? Yeah, you go first, and I'll
go first. All right, sure. All right, this is a prediction. I hope that you would at least laugh at.
Okay, sure.
All right. Go ahead. All right. This season, the Raiders will have at least one off the field season-ending injury from 2 players altercating with one another. This will happen 1 week of the season. For some reason, one player will rub another the wrong way, and one of them will just be knocked out cold for an extended period of time. I'm saying the rest of the season because I'm doubling down, as you're supposed to. It's a hot take. It's bold takes.
Okay, so.
But as they're crashing and burning, one of these players will have an injury severe enough.
Okay, so essentially your take is 2 Raiders players will get into a fight at some point, not during a game.
It could be.
Oh, well, you had said
I said off the field. I guess it can't be. You're right.
Okay, so you're including.
I will say. I don't really think it matters when. I just think it will happen. Where like maybe it's actually just on the field. Like someone just is like and then like just says F this, and then just
Yeah, like Vontaze Burfict decides to just take out one of his teammates. You know? Okay. I love this prediction. How can I word this? So, a Raiders player will intentionally injure another Raiders player and
the resulting
knock them out for this season.
That or the player will have legal ramifications that will result in them being ejected from games.
Well, wait, that's a
Basically, they cause severe injury to a player in such a way that legally.
Well, okay, but does this mean that like you would count it if Vontaze Burfict gets suspended for another dirty hit because like that?
No. That's not dirty hit on his own player.
Okay,
that's different. You see, I think that's different than a dirty hit on an opponent.
I think I'm gonna leave the wording as it is, but we'll like count this as right if it's even close. Like if anything happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great
That's
take.
fine with
I'm
me.
glad you like it.
That's great. I can't wait to see who injures who. Um, that's wonderful. Okay, so moving on. I guess I'm gonna do my two that are related in a row. So if you could pull up the Arizona Cardinals schedule on the thing.
Arizona Cardinals.
Yes. Um, and then I'll give you the heads up that next we're going to be talking about the Jets. So if you want to have them ready, I guess. So my prediction now, if you look at our predicted results, of course we have the Cardinals going 2-14,
but 2-1 to start the season.
2-1 to start the season. So even we have them getting off to a hot start, which is kind of the point. And I think they may actually do better than what we have predicted early in the season, because they drafted Kyler Murray, and they're going to be introducing an offense that has not been seen in the NFL before. I feel like this is going to have sort of the Cam Newton or Robert Griffin III effect, with a new sort of college style offense showing up in the league for the first time, where it's going to take teams a while to sort of figure out how to defend it. And I think their offense is going to be good to start the season. That's not my take, but so far, are you with me on this?
All right, so you think the Arizona Cardinals will have at least a solid offense to start the year off?
Yes.
One that can hold its own weight.
Yes. Now, that is not my bold prediction. I also think that because you have a running quarterback with Kyler Murray, and this is just true if you look at any running quarterback over the last few years, the running backs in those offenses tend to do really, really well, because especially if they're running read option, because it's another thing that the defense has to worry about, and the running backs almost get bonus yards because of the attention that defenses are paying to the quarterback.
I like where this is going because I think it links to my prediction next as well.
Ooh, nice. So my prediction is that David Johnson, the Cardinals running back, will lead the league in rushing through the first 8 weeks of the season. So after week 8, he will have the most rushing yards of anybody in the NFL.
Would you like to take it a step further and say you'll have 1,000 at that point?
1,000 at that point? No, that would be a little bit insane. Is that your prediction?
That is not my prediction.
Okay.
Would you like to hear my prediction?
I suppose so, yeah. All
right. On par with running backs around the league, and our prediction on how the Dallas Cowboys are going to do. Ezekiel Elliott, right, will finish outside of the top 5 running backs in rushing yards.
Okay.
Now, I know that doesn't sound super duper crazy, but like I think it is, considering, other than us, everyone thinks the Cowboys are going to be fantastic next year.
Yes.
They think they're going to be really dominant.
If you believe the Dallas PR people.
Not even that. Like, it's just people like, well, their front 7 looks amazing. They have a great running game, and it's Dak Prescott. The only problem he really has in his game is it's just accuracy. And that's something you can like kind of train up. You know, that's not a hard thing to like fix. Accuracy is really you can really just practice. You just keep throwing the ball.
Yep. I mean, tell that to Blake Bortles.
That's things I'm gonna ignore it. But look at the running backs that are joining the league now. You got Le'Veon Bell coming back, right? Yep. Saquon Barkley, second year. David Johnson in a new offense. You got Melvin Gordon. You got. Oh man, I was thinking of someone else, and now he's off my mind. Even Leonard Fournette, but Leonard Fournette's probably not going to be beating him in yards just because The way Jaguar
How
is,
about,
he's a sledgehammer.
don't sleep on Aaron Jones either.
Aaron Jones, I think, will finish in top 10 in rushing.
I feel like he very well could. It depends on how they end up using him, but
That's all
yeah.
it depends on. You're right.
And in the same vein, Derrick Henry with the Titans, he could easily end up there if the Titans actually use him the way that they should be.
Oh yeah, just out of nowhere, everyone's like, "Oh, he's getting 100 yards a game." Wait a minute.
Yep.
Wait, they have a running back? The Titans have a running game?
Yeah. Also, I like Philip Lindsay with Denver. That
there he is. That's the guy I actually think will get top
that's
5.
the guy you were thinking of.
Yeah, I think Lindsay will beat Ezekiel Elliott in rushing yards.
Also, you could throw Todd Gurley into the mix, though. I have a feeling he's not going to have a great year because I think they're going to manage him a lot.
Because of what happened last year?
I feel like we've seen peak Todd Gurley, and now he's in decline because of these injuries, and it's really unfortunate because I love watching Todd Gurley play. But I feel like I hope I'm wrong, but reading the tea leaves, I think that his best stuff is behind him at this point.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Running backs do fall off so fast.
Yeah. Devontae Freeman's another one.
Oh, he could come back in form. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a running gap. If you
Christian
look at
McCaffrey,
the field of running backs right now, yeah, him too.
Mark Ingram.
I laugh because he's just.
Don't forget Matt Breida in San Francisco. No, I'm kidding about him. Nick Chubb, though.
Hey, we both said it.
Yeah.
We got fucking
Joe Mixon. James
we got Lamar
Conner.
Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson.
Hey, I mean, do you think that if you said that Lamar Jackson finishes top 10 rushing yards in the league, would that be too out of the picture?
I don't think it'll happen, but it could. I don't think it's
And I don't think there's ever been a time period, even with Michael Vick, right? Because it wasn't like Michael Vick was getting...
Again, because I missed some of what you said just now.
All right. Even when Michael Vick was, like, in the league, right?
Right.
He wasn't getting... You never really thought he was going to get that many yards this season, right? You thought that his running game was insane in that... But it was managed always. It was always something you never thought was going to last the entire season or exceed like 1,200 rushing yards or something like that, right? Like, that's a little nuts. Hello, you there?
Yes, just give me a sec. Sorry. More leg issues.
Did you hear what I said at all?
No.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
All right.
I heard like bits and pieces. You were talking about Michael Vick.
All right, Michael Vick.
Let me see if I can sum up what I think you said. Michael Vick, obviously, probably the greatest running quarterback that we can remember.
Anyone will ever talk about.
Basically, what you were saying, I think, is that you were never really expecting him to be like top 10 in rushing. But he was obviously,
But it was because that he also had a passing game to him.
Right.
But that's not Lamar Jackson.
I think Lamar Jackson is going to improve this year as a passer, though, which is why I don't think that it'll happen. However, if things kind of don't improve, I could see it.
Yeah.
Also, while we're throwing out good running backs, who really knows if LaShawn McCoy is going to bounce back? It could happen.
Christ.
You never know. I mean, he's talking about having another big year, so who knows?
His legs are gonna like give out in the second quarter.
Yeah. Anyway, But yeah, I do like that prediction. You said Zeke will finish outside of what, the top 10, or was it top 5?
Top 5.
Okay.
I think he'll be
Um
like 8th.
okay, that makes sense to me. Um top 10 would have been more bold,
That'd
but
be really bold, but I just there's not
yeah.
enough for me to say that Ezekiel Elliott will be bad. And I think he would have to actually falter in form because I don't think the O line of the Cowboys will be bad. I think it would have to
Yeah.
be on Zeke himself if he did that.
Mhm.
Or he'd have to get hurt, and I don't want to predict that.
Right. Right. Um okay. So I think the way I'll do this, and I didn't really want to split this into two predictions, but it seems like I'm going to have to. So if you could pull up the Jets on the spreadsheet so we can look at their schedule.
Got it.
Um, so the second half of this prediction, I suppose. So the first half was that David Johnson is going to lead the NFL in rushing through the first 8 weeks. The other part that I didn't mention of that is that the Cardinals have a very soft schedule in the first 8 weeks. So like the defenses they're going to be facing are not great. The second half of this prediction is that from week 9 onward, so the rest of the season, Le'Veon Bell is going to lead the league in rushing. And if you look at the schedule that the Jets are facing from week 9 on, the Dolphins, you get them twice. You get
Oh shit.
the G-men, the racists, the Raiders, the Bengals. I don't see any good defenses in that bunch.
Giants and Redskins.
No.
Giants and Redskins.
No.
Yes.
Just no.
Yes. Yes.
Then you get the Ravens and Steelers.
Wait. I'll go back at that point. Redskins will be a good defense. They give up a lot of yards. They just don't let people score.
Okay. I think you actually had a prediction relating to them earlier, but anyway, finishing my point, the last 3 weeks they have the Ravens, who are probably a good defense, the Steelers, who I feel will not be, and then the Bills. So part of the reason that I'm predicting this is that, like, yes, the Jets have to play the Browns, the Patriots twice, and the Jaguars, but those are all in the first 8 weeks. And the Cowboys as well, and Eagles, all in the first 8 weeks. So like they're facing good rushing defenses in the first half and not so much in the second half. So that's kind of where this prediction came from, is that from week 9 through the end of the season, Lev Bell is going to be the leading rusher in the NFL.
All right.
So,
I think I can get behind that, though. I can still get behind that. I think he's also just that talented.
That's part of it too. So yeah, that's my 2-part prediction, I guess, is that that David Johnson will essentially for the first half be the league's leading rusher, and then Lev Bell for the remainder of the season. And I realize that it's actually 8 weeks versus 9 because of when those teams have buys, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. And then my last prediction, and we already did all of yours, right?
Yeah, mine are done.
Okay. So my last prediction, I did some research for this one, as I mentioned earlier. I was trying to determine who was going to be the most productive wide receiver tandem this year, in terms of yards. So first, why don't I ask you, like, if you could pick a wide receiver tandem, not necessarily to have the most yards, but just the best one in the NFL right now, which one do you think you would pick? Because last year the answer was pretty easy. It was Brown and Juju, pretty much hands down.
Landry Beckham.
Landry Beckham makes a lot of sense. I like that one
I
too.
like the like. It's just the synergy's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
got young
here's
guy.
here's the thing
Yeah,
though. So who would you consider to be in that elite tier of wide receivers? Like,
Adams, Jones,
really, you put
Brown,
Adams up there?
Devontae Adams, of course.
Huh.
Are you kidding me?
Okay. Okay. I don't mean
Adams,
like in terms of numbers, but I mean just in terms of skill set.
yeah,
Like,
Adams, Jones, Brown, Beckham. There are others in there. I
I
just like I'm drawing a blank, if anything.
I have 6 that I put in that elite tier right now in the NFL. In the NFL, it's Julio, of course,
Yeah,
Brown, Beckham.
Green, AJ Green.
AJ Green is my last one. Yes.
Oh, Green and Boyd.
Green and Boyd.
Boyd is so good.
Okay. Settle down.
No, that's it. It's Boyd and Green. Holy shit, they're nuts.
All right. That's not my prediction, but anyway, the 6 that I have in that elite tier in some order are Brown, Beckham, Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, and AJ Green.
Now Hill might not play.
Hill might not play. But
Hopkins is really good too. And Hopkins also's got Fuller, right?
Right. And for the record,
Jones has Ridley, right?
Correct. For the record, I have, like, if I were ranking the wide receivers in the NFL, Devontae Adams is probably he's like the top guy outside of that elite tier in my mind.
Or Thielen. Thielen's also fantastic at route running. Probably the best route runner in the league.
Yep. But anyway, I was kind of thinking about this, and I realized that if you take any one of those like elite tier guys, you could make an argument for them and the next wide receiver on their team as being the top duo. And that kind of makes sense. And I wanted to see kind of historically how often there's been an elite receiver. So I looked back at the last 10 years. So I'm going to start at 2009 and work my way to the present. So in 2009, the top wide receiver duo was Wes Welker and Randy Moss.
All right, that makes sense.
Makes sense. The next year, 2010 is kind of an exception year. I've nicknamed this the year of no good receivers. So the top duo was the Denver Broncos, Brandon Lloyd and Jabbar Gaffney. Lloyd was actually the top receiver in the league in terms of yards with 1448. And no other receiver even reached 1,400 yards that season. So that was just a weird year. But set that aside. 2011 was Victor Cruz and Hakeem Nicks. And if you remember...
I remember them, yeah. They were fucking nuts.
If you remember, that was the year that the Giants won the Super Bowl against the Patriots the second time. And that was the one random Victor Cruz year. And I don't know if you can really call him an elite receiver. But for that season, he certainly was. And who knows, if he hadn't gotten injured in subsequent years, maybe he would still be playing and still be productive. We don't really know.
I could agree. I could get behind that, yeah.
But anyway, and by the way, in 2011, that duo was actually outgained by Wes Welker and Gronk, but I'm not counting tight ends in this, so we're excluding that one. And Welker and Gronk beat out Cruz and Nicks by 168 yards.
Jesus, Gronk is prime.
Yeah, prime Gronk was nuts. 2012 was Roddy White and Julio. And it's worth noting that they just barely beat out the duo of Calvin Johnson and Brandon Pettigrew
So I
um,
mean Calvin Johnson and Calvin Johnson.
Pretty much. Pettigrew, by the way, the Lions tight end, had only like 500 something yards that season. Calvin Johnson had 1,964 yards, almost 2,000 yards by himself.
Jesus Christ.
Um, so yeah, Roddy and Julio that year. Um, and then 2013 and 14, it was the Broncos. So 2013, it was Demarius Thomas and Eric Decker. That was the year that they lost the Super Bowl to the Seahawks. So that was like the historically good Peyton Manning offense.
Yeah.
And then 2014, the next year, it was Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders because Decker left to go to the Jets. Um, and that season, both of them, Thomas and Sanders, were in the top 5 in yards. So those teams, it's like I feel like Demarius Thomas at that point in his career, I think was considered to be in that elite tier.
Yeah.
And plus, it was like historic Peyton Manning era, so it just kind of makes sense. Um, so moving on, 2015, it was Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant. Makes sense. 2016, I'm going to come back to this year because it's kind of a weird anomaly, but it's Brandon Cooks and Michael Thomas from the Saints. And I'm going to come back and talk more about that year in a bit. That was Michael Thomas's rookie year, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's a
Then
thing. He's also, I would call him elite.
I think he's like right there, just outside that like top tier, but with a good season, like he could jump into that
All
tier
right.
this
So
year.
you know how in tier lists it goes S tier then A tier?
Sure.
Would you consider them like high A tier then? Like Adams and
Adams
Michael
and
Thomas?
Thomas, yes. High A tier.
And then there'd be like a few S tier and that's it.
I have 6 in that S tier, I guess, if you want to break it down that way.
Yeah.
So, and again, those 6 would be Brown, Beckham, Jones, Hill, Hopkins, and Green
I
in some
personally
order.
think that Beckham is worse than Adams, Thomas, like Thielen. He's just way too inconsistent. I think
Well, yeah,
that's
I
my.
put
I just weigh that too heavy on him. I think.
I put some of that on uh, bad offenses his last couple of years in New York.
But
Like
it's
they just
not.
had.
It's just his technique. He just sometimes jumps for balls he doesn't need to. Simple things like this, going for one hand for no reason
That's
when
true,
it's in
but
his chest. That's stupid. That is
there
stupid.
are also plays that Odell Beckham makes that no other human being in the history of human beings could make. You know, like it's kind of like the whole Giannis factor that I talk about when I watch the Bucks, where it's like he just redefines what I think is humanly possible when I watch him play. Beckham occasionally is the same way, where it's like
You know, there is a one other player in basketball that has done what Giannis has done before, right?
Jordan.
Yeah, Giannis is the closest thing to Michael Jordan that we've ever seen.
Well, but I mean, like in terms of like some of the, I'm just
Oh yeah,
talking
there are those plays
individual
where it's just
plays.
1v5 in the paint and he's just like jumps over everyone and it's just
Well,
using
and
his
I'm
own
like,
strength and you're just like, what the hell? How is this possible?
that's what I'm talking about though, with like individual plays. Like I realize that like Jordan is the greatest player to ever play basketball, but
That's
like
not
there are
Wilt Chamberlain.
certain okay, you know what I mean. But there are certain things that like that Giannis can do that Jordan probably could not on individual specific plays. And like maybe Jordan would have found some other way to score on that in that situation, but you know what I'm saying, right?
I think Giannis can get to a Jordan like status. He's so young.
Oh yes, absolutely. I think he has the potential to do that. But anyway, moving on to back to my actual point. Um, so Cooks and Thomas, that was that random year in 2016. Um, 2017 was Antonio Brown and Juju, of course. And then last year, 2018, was Juju and Brown. They flipped because Juju outgained Brown. Um, And then again, I'm excluding tight ends, but it is worth noting that the duo of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce did outgain Juju and Brown last year. So what all of this kind of told me is that it's like extremely common, right, for a duo with one of those elite wide receivers to be the top duo in the league.
Yeah.
So initially I was thinking like before I did all this research, I was thinking like the Texans were actually my pick because I really like the duo of Hopkins and Fuller. And I feel like if they get a full season from Will Fuller, that could really happen.
But Ridley and Jones look better,
Well,
don't they?
Ridley and Jones look really good too, and I thought about that. I also thought about Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams, like that could happen too, and of course Beckham and Landry. But then I thought, what would really be bold is if I predicted a team that did not have one of these elite wide receivers to have the top wide receiver tandem in terms of yards. So then I was thinking, well, how has that happened in the past? And there's really only 2 years where it happened. It was 2010, the year of no good receivers, and 2016. And so I looked at 2016 and I'm like, well, how the hell did Cooks and Thomas compile that level of yardage? And each of them had over 1,100 yards that season, which is insane. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, 2016, how did the Saints even do that year? Was that like a year where they went deep in the playoffs?
That was the 4-win team.
No, it wasn't the 4-win team. They went 7-9 though.
Yeah, they had a terrible offense. I mean, defense. Their defense was so abysmal that year.
They were first in total offense and 31st in total defense. And they went 7-9 and missed the playoffs. And Brandon Cooks and Michael Thomas just dominated. So what I realized is if you have a really good offense and a really bad defense, you have a good chance to do this with even just above average receivers, not like great receivers, but above average. And I feel like Brandon Cooks at that point in his career was considered good, but not great. And Michael Thomas was a rookie, so he, still had a lot to work out. So thinking about this, I was like, who could I predict that has a really good offense and a really bad defense that could do this? And there's only one team in the league that I think really fits the bill. Would you like to guess who it is?
If you're going to say the Arizona Cardinals.
No, I'm not going to say the Arizona Cardinals. Would you like to posit a guess or no?
Give me a little thing. Give me a little think, right?
Okay. I'll give you a hint. It's not the Miami Dolphins.
Well, yeah, I no. That's such a good joke, even though it's so mean.
Yeah. Just random shots at the Dolphins.
A really bad defense? That's the hard part, because I was going to say, the Colts.
Right, yeah. The Colts are another one that I thought about, but their defense is pretty good. And I don't feel like T.Y. Hilton is that S-tier type receiver.
This is difficult.
It is, isn't it? So should I narrow it down for you?
I believe that my guess will be the San Diego Chargers.
Well, that's not a team, so
Los
nice
Angeles
try.
Chargers.
I did think about the Chargers actually, but
Then it's
no,
the Buccaneers.
it's not the Buccaneers
Fuck.
either. It is an NFC team.
All right. Who missed the playoffs, right?
They missed the playoffs last year. We have them predicted to miss the playoffs again.
I'm going to go with they're not in the North.
You would be incorrect.
So why would you pick the Lions? Wait, the Vikings! Holy shit!
No, not the Vikings. I picked the Lions.
You
And yeah, here's why. And the Vikings make a lot of sense too. But okay, here's my reasoning for picking the Lions. First of all, Kenny Galladay is this guy is going to be a future star. Like if we did Making the Leap, like Greg Rosenthal always writes, Kenny Galladay would be my first guy to make the leap. He's going to be a star in the NFL. He's really good. I've watched some film on him, and I am just like hyped to see what he can do. So that's my first point.
What about Marvin? Don't they have like this really, really good receiver as well?
Well, Marvin Jones is their number 2. And he's always been a really solid number 2, like his whole career. Always puts up pretty good numbers. So, and additionally, they have some depth. So, like if Jones got hurt or something, they have like Amendola and Curse, and so even if there's injuries, they could still potentially do it. So my reasoning here is that now the Lions we have going 8-8, right? They're the definition of an average team. And
they lose.
Despite the fact that their head coach is Matt Patricia, who's a defense-oriented guy, I mean, like, look at their defensive roster. It's terrible. They have, granted, they added Snacks Harrison and Trey Flowers on the defensive line, so that's good. But, like, their linebackers are awful. Their starting linebackers right now are Devin Kennard, Jared Davis, and Christian Jones. I have not heard of those guys. Like, that looks terrible. And then their secondary, I mean, Darius Slay is very good. Quandre Diggs is a decent safety, but then Miles Killebrew is their starting free safety, and Jalen Tabor is their other corner. I don't know who that is. And then Justin Coleman, remember him, the guy who like has failed in several places? He's their nickel corner. So like I feel like they just don't have a good defensive roster. And even with a defensive coach, they're not going to be good on that side of the ball. So what that means is their offense is going to have to score a lot of points. And they actually have the pieces on offense to do it. I mean, we were talking about this a couple podcasts ago, I think, and you said like their offense actually looks sneaky good with Stafford, who's obviously a good quarterback.
A running game.
They have,
Speaking of running backs,
Johnson. Yeah, Kerryon Johnson. We forgot to mention him, and Dalvin Cook also we didn't mention.
Well, Dalvin Cook, I don't think is going to be good anymore. I think he's actually kind of gone, like bad now.
Okay, but we're not talking about Dalvin Cook right now. But yeah, you have a running game with Kerryon Johnson. You have, of course, Galladay, who I think is going to break out this year. Jones, Curse, Amendola. Theo Riddick, if he makes the team, is a good pass-catching running back. Otherwise, they have other guys who can fill that role. And they added a new tight end, TJ Hawkinson. Plus, they have a new offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevel, who's had some success in recent years in Seattle. So putting all of that together, I feel like this is a pretty good offense with a pretty bad defense. And I feel like I don't think they're going to be like the Saints where they are first in offense and 31st in defense.
But they're going to beat the Chiefs in week 4.
I feel like there is a pretty big gap, and I feel like they'll beat the Chiefs in Week 4. Um, and that's my prediction. So the Lions are going to have the top wide receiver tandem in the NFL this year in terms
that
of
had a lot to it.
It did.
And I have no idea why, but I'm starting to believe you.
I know, right?
This is so
like as I was researching this, I was really talking myself into the Lions, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna be so much fun to watch.
Honestly, I want to watch every fourth quarter the Lions play this year.
Right?
Like, just the fourth quarter. I don't care what happens in the first 45 minutes of the game. The second the fourth quarter starts, like, I don't even care, like, sometimes. That has to be good football. As long as they get the ball, like, in 3 possessions in the fourth quarter, I think it's a good game.
Yeah, I mean, well, remember, like, a couple years ago where they had, they had, I think they went 9-7, and they had 8 fourth quarter comebacks.
Yeah, Stafford's always been good in the fourth quarter. He's a guy who ramps up as the game goes on.
Yeah.
Always does. And he is the type of guy, he's a clutch player. He is a very good clutch player. No one can say this guy isn't clutch. He hasn't won shit, but he is like a clutch motherfucker.
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody be so consistent in so many, like tense moments. I mean, like, if he was a kicker, he would be the best kicker in the league. Yeah. Just saying.
Stafford is really good.
He's a tough cookie to crack.
Like, obviously, as a Packer fan, I don't like the Lions, but I've always admired Stafford. He's really good, and he's been stuck with some really bad teams. And unfortunately, I think this is another one of those years, but at least their offense will be good.
If they can keep that offense together and build a defense, then the fucking NFC North
better watch out. Yeah,
could have the Kirk Cousins like offense be the worst. Think about that.
And yeah, I will say this, that, like, if the Packers are bad, right, and that this is just at any point in the past or in the future, if the Packers are bad, I will not root for the Bears or Vikings. Just like, I hate those teams too much. But the Lions are a team I can still root for some reason, no matter
Maybe
what.
It's just out of pity. Just like,
I think so.
It's just, you're so shit. And even when you're good, it's like, yeah, but you suck still.
Like, seeing them be the first team to ever go 0-16,
that breaks you.
It's like, I'm like, you guys are the lovable losers. I can root for you. So, like, yeah, honestly, like, if this season the Packers end up bad and the Lions are exciting, like, I can root for the Lions. Why not? Like, obviously not when they play the Packers, but other times I can root for the Lions.
For sure, yeah. It's actually yeah. It's kind of nuts. I mean, I'm not really. I think I do prefer the Packers over all the NFC North teams still. Obviously, I have a lot of Packer friends, and my family is Packer fans. I literally have the stock of one of the Pack. Like, we have it framed down here. So right behind me right now, we have a Packer stock that's in a frame.
Nice.
So, I mean, I'm kind of obligated at that point since I'm technically like an owner.
Yeah.
To like the Packers a little bit. So, yeah. I like the prediction a lot. I'm really impressed. I've always been impressed with how much effort you put into some of these things, especially with the Lions. I don't know why.
Honestly, I'm surprised at how much effort I put into these predictions.
You get like so committed and so like enthralled, I've noticed, and I love it.
I really do.
It's like, really passionate. I really like it.
Yeah, it is. It's something I'm passionate about, football. I've always really enjoyed it and getting really deep into the details and that sort of thing. So, like, yeah, and I love stats always.
Oh, like, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's probably the main reason that I like baseball is I love stats.
Just looking at the numbers and being like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like granted, and I hate when like analysts do this where they like they'll make they'll try to use stats as a predictor more than they should. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like it's I suppose it's they're using non-predictive stats to as being predictive, and it just doesn't work. And that annoys me. So I understand that there's a limit to how far statistics can go, but that being said, I love stats. I love looking at all the numbers. And it was actually really fun looking back at the last 10 years because nobody actually, uh, I discovered, tracks this stat. So I had to actually do the math on my own and figure out who the top duos were.
Ha!
Um,
Wow.
yeah. So it was actually really fun just looking at all the numbers.
And you just put it in a spreadsheet, I assume.
No, I didn't even. Somebody had a spreadsheet of like the top receivers from each year. So, and they had them, they had team codes for them. So I just like did a control F, just find, and then type in the team code. But like that one year where Calvin Johnson had almost 2,000 yards, I was really rooting for like nobody to be able to top him and Brandon Pettigrew.
And no one did.
No, they did. Roddy and Julio barely beat him.
Oh, that's right. You said that they were okay. That was one of the barely beat out. It seems to be that wide receivers and tight ends also like.
Yeah. And by the way, it is worth noting I am leaving tight ends out of this prediction. And the main reason is I don't want when Jimmy G starts lighting up the league, I don't want George Kittle to ruin this prediction.
That would be honestly so tragic. Yeah,
it would, wouldn't it? That's my main reason, honestly, for excluding tight ends.
It's just George Kittle just being George Kittle.
Because, like, George Kittle, I think, is the only tight end that really threatens this year to do it because Gronk is gone and Tyreek Hill is
maybe one of the Iowa rookies.
Well,
that would actually be the funniest thing if like it was actually like it was the new Iowa tight end on the Lions and Galladay.
And Galladay, yeah, that would be funny. I don't think it will be though, and my reason for that is that it's Darrell Bevell who's coaching the offense, and like that Seattle offense with Bevell never utilized tight ends properly. Like even Jimmy Graham when they had him, like they had Graham still in his prime and they didn't utilize him. So that's why I'm thinking it probably won't be Hawkinson. The other guy though, I forget his name, who was drafted by Denver. I could see him and is Emmanuel Sanders still there? Is he their number one now?
Yeah, but they don't have a quarterback like Stafford or Breeze. Like, no, but you're basically saying
Flacco can still sling it.
Not like Breeze or no, I don't think not like 2016 Drew Brees or this year Matthew Stafford. No way.
No, I agree. I agree with you on that. However, he's still decent, and so I could still see it happening. But yeah, honestly, Kittle I feel is the only threat at tight end. So I don't want him to ruin the prediction because I really like George Kittle. He was on my fantasy team all last year, and it was fun. So anyway, that's the predictions. So are we ready to move on to music?
I believe we are.
Okay, great. Yeah.
I will put up the albums. I really like the Lions prediction still. That will be my final.
I'm glad you like it
because I put
a lot of effort into it. It would have been really disappointing if I had put all that effort in and then you had gone, yeah, no, that's terrible.
Yeah, no, that's never gonna happen, lol.
Yeah.
And then what would be even worse if I said that and then like they were to shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like and they just like were carried by their defense the entire year. That would be that would be the darkest timeline.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of dark timelines and dark music, Judas Priest Not really dark, I guess, but
That one wasn't dark.
yeah.
Your album that you recommended was pretty dark.
Oh yeah, not the happiest piece of music. I did like Judas Priest "Screaming for Vengeance" quite a bit.
Oh, good.
I really did, and I knew I would a bit. I knew I wasn't gonna like it as much as I liked Black Sabbath's "Paranoia," right?
Yeah,
but
I've actually thought about recommending Paranoid.
Dude, Paranoid is such a fucking banger of an album. I love it. Oh my. Judas Priest "Screaming for Vengeance." I love this album. I really, really liked it a lot. It's the best thing you've recommended to me, and I plan on listening to it again.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right. What was the name of the album you recommended again?
Hospice.
Hospice, yeah.
You like that place you go to die.
Right. Yeah. By the way, the reason that I thought that there were at least 3 or 4 albums that you've recommended with dead kids, the reason that I thought that, I think, is because on that one album there were 2 or 3 different songs about different dead kids.
You mean Wildlife by Law Dispute?
Yes.
Yeah.
On Wildlife. And I think that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, there is there was a song about the kid that got cancer and saw Jesus. There's the kid who got shot.
Yep.
And then there was the schizophrenic kid that stabbed his father.
Yep. Yeah. So I was thinking of that, I think. But okay, this one is just really about one dead kid.
This isn't about a dead kid, I found out. I was wrong about that fact. It's about grown. It's about a bone marrow. It's about a bone cancer patient, right?
Uh-huh.
And the love relationship they have with their hospice worker, who they end up marrying, rushing it. And the procedure goes through, and they end up passing away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the whole narrative, and it's supposed to be like a double entendre to an abusive relationship, which it's hard to pinpoint that. However, they keep saying that that's part of the album, although I think that's just kind of pushing it a little bit. I didn't really get that feeling a lot, where it's this abusive relationship, double meaning. I thought it was just more or less a clear-cut sad album.
I definitely didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, I mean,
you're right that it is just a very sad album.
I really like a lot of the songs, though.
Yeah, a lot of the individual songs were good, but it's I guess for whatever reason, I just don't like having that level of sad album in my life.
Sudden. Yeah,
you know
the song, I don't know if you remember the song Shiva, but that's the song that starts suddenly every machine stopped at once. Yeah. The monitor, that song kills me every time I hear it. It just makes me kind of start breaking down. 2 is my favorite song on the album, and that one just is, it's kind of
They were all they were just all gut wrenching.
That was, I mean, it is the point. It's been there are literal reviews by music review outlets that are just saying this is the saddest album of all time, which I don't agree with, but it's up there. It's really not happy.
Yeah. So I mean, ultimately, I liked the music. I just did not like having that level of sadness. It's depressing. I was actually having a good day, and then I listened to that, and I was like, "Oh."
It's so unfortunate. I didn't mean for it.
No, it's fine. I understand. But no, afterwards I was like, I need to listen to something better, and I just went and I'm like, I need something that I know I'm gonna really enjoy, and I just listened to Nevermind.
Yeah,
I
mean, Nevermind still the thing about Nirvana.
I had to just pick a good album that I knew that I liked.
I mean, even the songs on a lot of Nevermind aren't,
what
the happiest. There are a lot of songs, especially Lithium. That's okay. Really
there might be more lag going on. Hang on.
Oh. Hello. I'm talking.
Okay.
I'm talking. Hello. I'm talking. I can hear you. Hello. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I was talking about
Okay.
how like that's still not like Nevermind's not the happiest album in the world either. Like Something in the Way, that's not a
No,
happy song.
definitely, it's not the
Lithium
happiest album.
Lithium can get real fucked up. You really
Oh
think
yeah,
about it.
for sure. Like I like depressing music to a point. Um, and honestly, like the reason that I picked Nevermind is just because it's like my favorite album ever. So, but anyway, um, okay. So do you want to move on to the recommendations for next time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe I know what I'm gonna suggest.
Okay. Well, go ahead then if you want to go with yours.
Well, there is this band that I enjoy quite heavily. The guy used to be in a band in the 90s called Red House Painters. I don't know if that is familiar to you at all.
No, it is not.
But his solo project now is Sun Kill Moon. Kill spelled with only one L.
Okay.
And this project's named Benji. He is this singer-songwriter folk artist. And he just his songs are kind of long-winded, but a lot of it's just him talking his mind and speaking. Sometimes he's kind of, there are some songs where you just can't help but kind of laugh at what he's saying, because he's like saying, like there's a song in the album that's called Dogs or something, and it's about how, wow, I can't believe how sexually addicted our human race is. Wow, isn't it funny? And you're just like, oh, okay, buddy. Yeah, right. But the album's really good. Like my favorite song on the album is the first track, Carissa, and I think you'll like this. You should like this.
All right.
However, like it's a longer album. It's over an hour long.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's cool. All right. Should be interesting. I always say that. I've noticed.
Yeah, I think that's just something where you're just like, I guess this is interesting. I don't know.
There's nothing else to say about an album that I've never heard before. Like I'm like, okay, I'll listen to it and see what I think, and I'll get back to you. Because that's the whole point of this exercise. Anyway, the album I'm going to recommend, and again, this is another one that's just like random, where I just thought of this and I was like, all right, I could recommend that. The album is Come Clean by Puddle of Mud.
Puddle of Mud?
Yeah.
So everything's so blurry, everything's so fake.
Yeah, I'm assuming you've heard this.
Me.
Have you listened to this entire album, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just figured I'd throw it out there. I don't know. I will be honest. The first time I ever heard a song by this band, it was "She Hates Me," of course. And when it first started, I thought, and I guess this is not uncommon, but I initially thought it might be some Nirvana song I had never heard, because his voice is so similar to Kurt's.
I think one could say it's even ripping off.
I don't know. Well, maybe. I don't know.
I believe that is my opinion of this guy.
Okay, well.
And this band, and how blatant the influences are, to the point where they haven't even made an original song in their life. And I believe that I will come back to you about my opinions on this band, and we will discuss that on the next episode. But remember, I like Judas Priest. I like Screaming for Vengeance. So can't say right. I just automatically hate the bands you like. You can't say that now.
I got one good one. All right.
Hey, a broken clock's right twice a day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Is that where we're leaving it?
I suppose so. I don't know when we're gonna record next.
You need me neither.
So we'll figure that out. But we'll be back at some point, maybe when something actually happens.
Honestly,
we
yeah,
we can
maybe
talk about
that.
it.
I think the best part about the podcast isn't the news; it's always the bold predictions now.
Yeah. So anyway, and I feel like that was true from the beginning.
Yeah.
When we were just talking about our full season predictions. Um, so anyway, I guess we'll leave it there.
All right. Yep.
So I guess is Jordy? He's just a commander, or is he? No, he's not. He's a lieutenant commander, right? Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Never mind. I outrank you. No, you're Data. You outrank me. Damn it. Whatever. I'm I'm Jordy. He's Data.